Darren stood still as the starship doors opened, revealing the glowing towers and dark blue skies of Veltrax's prime. The planet had once been a place of war and division, but now it was trying to build peace. Earth had helped end the war here, sending soldiers, doctors, engineers, and diplomats. Darren was part of that peacekeeping force. He stepped onto the landing pad wearing simple armor, not shiny or royal, but strong and reliable. Around him, tall alien guards stared with cold eyes. Their skin was grayish and patterned like stone, and their eyes glowed faintly red. They belonged to House Zarak, one of the most powerful noble families on the planet. Even though the war was over, their pride was still alive. Darren wasn't surprised by the silence around him. He knew many aliens still didn't trust humans. Some even saw humans as lesser beings, tools for labor or foot soldiers in war, but never equals. Darren had heard the whispers during his last visit. He didn't care. He wasn't here to be liked. He was here to serve peace. 2 guards approached and led him to the palace gates. They didn't speak, only gestured sharply. He followed without complaint. The palace of House Zarak was large, filled with sharp stone walls and red banners. Inside, alien nobles dressed in fine robes stared at him as he passed. Some laughed quietly. Others just looked away. He entered the main hall. At the center stood a raised platform where Lady Sorella waited. She was tall and strong, wearing black and gold armor with a blade on her hip. Her face was proud and her expression was cold. She was known as one of the best warriors on Veltrax's prime. Undefeated in dozens of duels, she stepped forward and looked Darren up and down. The room was silent. "This is the human they sent?" she said loudly, turning to the gathered nobles. "I thought Earth would send someone of value, not a slave wearing armor." Some nobles laughed. Darren remained still. Sorella walked up to him slowly. "Do you speak human, or are you trained only to obey?" Darren met her eyes. "I speak, but I choose my words carefully." She tilted her head. A smart answer for a servant. Without warning, she spat in his face. Gasps filled the hall. Even the guards seemed surprised. Darren stood motionless, the spit sliding down his cheek. He slowly wiped it away with his glove, then looked at her again, not with anger, but with quiet strength. "You insult not just me," he said calmly. "You insult Earth, and every human who died bringing peace to this world." Sorella crossed her arms. "Peace brought by Earth's dogs? I could defeat you with one hand." Darren took a step forward and spoke clearly so all could hear. "Then prove it. I request a first law duel." Now the room truly fell silent. A first law duel was a respected tradition on Veltrax's prime. It was not a duel to the death, but it was still dangerous. It was used when a warrior's honor was challenged publicly. It was rare for outsiders to ask for it. No human had ever done so. Sir Ella single quotes S eyes narrowed. "You? Request a duel?" "You know what you ask?" "I do," Darren said. "And I will." "Stand for my people," the nobles murmured. Some were amused. Some were curious. Some whispered bets. Sorella laughed. "Then I accept, tomorrow morning at the arena." "Prepare to be broken, human." She turned and walked away, her boots echoing on the marble floor. The nobles began to leave, still whispering, still watching. Darren stood alone, then slowly turned and left the hall. Outside the palace, the sky darkened as the sun dipped behind the mountains. Darren sat by a small fire near his quarters, checking his blade. It was nothing fancy, earth-made, balanced, trusted. A fellow human soldier walked over. "You're really going to duel her?" Darren nodded. "She insulted every human." Someone had to answer. "She's faster, stronger. You sure about this?" Darren looked up. "She's used to winning because everyone fears her." "I don't. That changes everything." The soldier sat beside him. "You only have 30 seconds to impress that crowd. After that, they'll stop listening." "Then 30 seconds is all I'll need," Darren replied. Far above, alien drones recorded everything. News was already spreading across the planet. Human challenges noble warrior. Earth soldier demands first law duel. Fool or legend in the making. Back in the palace, Lady Sorella stood alone in the training hall, slicing through shadows with her blade. She was calm, but something inside her burned. A human had challenged her in front of her house. She would end it quickly. The morning sky above Valtrax's prime was filled with thick clouds. The air was cold, but the tension in the capital was hotter than fire. The news of the upcoming duel had reached every corner of the city. Aliens of all ranks, nobles, merchants, workers were gathering at the arena, eager to witness what many thought would be a quick humiliation. No human had ever requested a first-law duel. It was an ancient custom, meant to settle matters of honor between highborn warriors. But Darren had not just requested it, he had demanded it in the court of House Zarak, against one of the most powerful warriors on the planet. Darren stood inside the stone chamber beneath the arena, wrapping his hands in black tape. His armor was light, built for speed and movement. He checked the straps twice. His blade, standard earth steel, rested calmly at his side. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about pride either. It was about respect, something every human deserved but hadn't been given here. Suddenly, a quiet voice came from the entrance. "You are either brave or foolish." Darren turned and saw an old alien standing there. His robes were plain, but his face carried age and wisdom. "I am the Keeper of Honor," the old one said. "I oversee the rules of the first law duel. You may call me Kriv." Darren nodded. "I'm ready." Kriv looked him over. "You carry no fancy armor." "Number? Family crest? No poisoned blade? Do you think that will help you win?" Darren smiled faintly. "I'm not here to put on a show." "Just to make things clear," Kriv chuckled, "you speak like a soldier, not a noble. That is good. Truth speaks louder than titles." With that, Kriv turned and motioned for him to follow. Darren stepped into the light. The arena was a wide circle of red sand surrounded by high black stone. The stands were full, thousands of aliens watching silently. Every seat was taken. On one side, the nobles of House Zarak sat beneath a grand banner. On the other, a small group of humans stood quietly, watching their friend with hopeful eyes. Lady Sorella stood at the center of the arena, already waiting. She wore her battle armor, shining dark plates with golden edges. Her long braid hung behind her, and her sword rested lightly in her hand. She looked confident, calm, even a little amused when she saw Darren step forward. Her lips curved in a mocking smile. "Are you sure you still wish to do this, human?" she called. "No shame in walking away." Darren stopped at the other end of the arena. "I've come this far. I'll go the rest of the way." Kriv stepped between them. "By first law, this is a match of skill and honor. No death, no outside help. The duel ends when one warrior yields or is clearly defeated. You may strike, disarm, or pin, but no killing blow." Both nodded. Kriv raised his hand. "Begin when ready." Then he stepped back. The crowd went silent. Sorella walked forward slowly, her blade shining under the light. She twirled it once and pointed it at Darren. "Let's end this quickly," she said. Darren didn't speak. He simply moved into a calm, ready stance, his knees slightly bent, one hand near his sword. Sorella rushed forward. She was fast, much faster than anyone expected. Her blade came at Darren with sharp, practiced strikes. She swung high, low, and across with expert speed. The air sang with the sound of metal, but Darren didn't panic. He moved with quiet precision, blocking each strike and stepping aside at just the right moment. He didn't swing wildly. He didn't waste energy. He waited. The crowd started to whisper. Sorella's speed wasn't working. She growled and came in faster, changing angles, forcing him to retreat step by step. Still, Darren stayed calm. 10 seconds passed. 15. He waited for her rhythm. And then, just before the 20th second, he saw a slight delay in her swing. A tiny overstep with her right foot. He moved with a quick feint to the left. He forced her to lean in. Then he spun right, slid under her guard, and knocked her sword from her hand with the flat of his blade. Gasps filled the arena before she could react. He stepped behind her, caught her shoulder, and swept her feet from under her. She hit the sand hard. He pinned her with one hand on her back, sword resting near her neck, but not touching. Exactly 30 seconds had passed. Silence. Then slowly, Kriv walked forward and raised his hand. The match is over, he said. Victory belongs to the human. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't boo. They just sat in stunned silence. Sorella lay in the sand, breathing hard, eyes wide. She had never been beaten in public, never knocked down, and yet this human had done it. With no tricks, no magic. Just skill, patience, and timing. Darren stepped back and offered her a hand. She stared at it. Then, slowly, she took it. He helped her to her feet. She didn't speak. She just looked at him with a face full of confusion. And something new. Respect. Darren nodded once, then turned and walked away, leaving the nobles, the crowd, and the planet with something they would never forget. The arena had emptied, but the silence from the duel remained in every corner of Veltrax's prime. The crowd hadn't cheered. They hadn't shouted. They had simply watched as something unexpected happened. A human had not only challenged a noble warrior, but had won with skill, without rage or pride. By nightfall, every holoscreen across the city played the footage again and again. The moment Sorella hit the ground, the moment Darren helped her up, the moment the sword never touched her neck, even though it could have in the noble halls, many were still in disbelief. I thought the human would be crushed, one elder muttered. He moved like water, another whispered. Some nobles were angry. Some were curious. But all of them were talking. Back at the human outpost, Darren sat alone in the quiet training room. The floor was smooth metal, and the air was cool. He stretched, in silence, working through the tension in his arms and shoulders. The duel had been quick, but intense. A voice called from the doorway. "You shook the whole planet!" Darren looked up. It was Maya, a fellow Earth diplomat. She held a tablet with news headlines flashing across the screen. "You're on every news network," she said, sitting beside him. "Some call you a genius. Others say you're dangerous." "I didn't want attention," Darren said quietly. "I just wanted respect." "You got it," she replied. "And now the nobles don't know what to do." Darren leaned back against the wall. "They think we're weak. They think humans only follow orders." "That duel showed them otherwise," Maya nodded. "Sorella hasn't spoken since the fight. Not a word? Her sisters are furious?" "Her mother is silent. Something big is shifting." Darren stayed quiet. He didn't enjoy being the center of attention. But if it helped improve how humans were treated here, maybe it was worth it. Elsewhere in the palace, Sorella stood alone in the training hall. The lights were dim. Her armor was gone, replaced by a simple robe. She stared at her blade, now lying. Across a stone bench, she had replayed the duel in her mind 100 times. His movements, his timing, the way he never lost control. She hadn't just been defeated, she had been shown something. She had never understood. She had believed strength came from power and speed. But Darren had used something else. Calm, focus, purpose. A younger warrior entered the room and bowed. "Lady Sorella, the council requests your appearance." She didn't turn around. "Let them wait." The warrior hesitated. "They want to speak about the human." "I know," she said softly. "Everyone does." The next day, Darren walked through the city streets. Some aliens stared at him. Others stepped aside. A few nodded with quiet respect. The fear was still there, but something new was growing. Beside it, he passed a group of alien children training with wooden swords. When they saw him, they paused. One of the younger ones stepped forward. "Are you the human who beat Lady Sorella?" The child asked. Darren smiled gently. "Yes." The boy looked down at his practice sword. "Will you teach me?" Darren paused. Then he knelt down beside the child. "I can teach you one thing," he said. "Control is greater than strength." The boy looked confused. "What does that mean?" "It means winning is not just about hitting harder," Darren explained. "It's about knowing when to move, when to wait, and when to stop." The boy nodded slowly. The other children gathered around, listening. Darren spent the next hour showing them footwork and balance. Not flashy moves, just the basics. But to the children, it was magic. A nearby vendor watched with interest. He leaned toward a friend. I thought humans were just fighters, but look at him. That evening in the high chamber of House Zarak, Sorella finally arrived. Her armor was clean, but she wore no crown, no blade. Her sisters stood waiting, arms crossed. Their faces were full of disappointment. You let a human humiliate you. One said. Sorella didn't answer. Do you plan to challenge him again? Another demanded. Still, Sorella remained silent. Then her mother, the high matron of house, Zarak, stepped forward. Her voice was cold but measured. Tell me, daughter, what did you learn? Sorella looked up slowly. That I never understood humans. Gasps came from around the hall. I thought them simple. I was wrong, she continued. He defeated me without anger. He didn't boast, he didn't harm me when he could have. That is real power, the matron narrowed her eyes. And what do you intend to do with this knowledge? Sorella lowered her head. Honor it. Back at the human outpost, Darren was preparing for departure. His work on Veltrax's Prime was nearly done, and another team would soon arrive to continue peace efforts. Before he could leave, a messenger from House Zarak appeared. My lady requests your presence, the alien said. Alone? Darren nodded. He followed the messenger through quiet streets to the palace. Inside the same hall where she had once insulted him, Lady Sorella now stood alone. When he entered, she bowed slightly. I was wrong, she said. About you, about your people. Darren stood still. You didn't have to call me here to say that. I did, she replied. Because I want to offer you something. She reached into a small case and pulled out a curved blade wrapped in red cloth. This is a blade of peace, she said. It is given only to those who change a warrior's heart without killing them. Darren took it with both hands, surprised. Thank you, he said quietly. Sorella stepped back. You are not a slave. And you never were. Darren returned to the human outpost with the red-wrapped blade in his hands. It was light but meaningful. The aliens called it the Blade of Peace, but to Darren, it was more than a gift. It was proof that something had changed. When he entered the base, the others gathered around him quickly. Is that from Lady Sorella? One of the soldiers asked. Darren nodded and unwrapped the cloth. The metal shimmered softly in the light, its shape elegant and smooth. On the blade's surface, an ancient symbol was engraved: unity without submission. Maya stepped closer. They don't give these to outsiders, ever. She said I earned it by changing her heart without blood, Darren replied. Everyone stared at the blade for a while. Then Maya smiled. Well, maybe this place has a chance after all. News of the gift spread quickly, just like the duel had. But this time, the message was different. Nobles across Veltrax's Prime began to whisper not just about the fight, but about the peace that followed. If Sorella accepted a human, one noble said, perhaps we've judged them too quickly. I thought they were only fighters, another admitted. But now, they seem deeper than we knew. Some still doubted. Others still resisted. But the idea had started small, quiet, and growing. 3 days later, Darren received an invitation to a council meeting. Not a regular one. This was the High Assembly of Houses, a rare gathering where all the noble families discussed matters that could change the future of the planet. Darren was surprised. Humans were usually kept far from such meetings. But this time, they wanted him to attend. When he arrived at the Grand Dome, the place was full. Pillars of white stone reached into the sky, and colored lights danced across the walls. Each noble house had a seat. Darren stood at the center, unarmed and calm. The council speaker, an elderly noble with silver skin, raised a hand. Human Darren, he said loudly, your actions have shaken tradition. Some are proud, some are ashamed, but all are watching. Why should we see Earth as equal and not just useful? Darren looked around. Hundreds of eyes stared at him. He spoke clearly and simply, because we don't want to rule you. We don't want to replace you. We want to build something new with you. A murmur spread through the hall. He continued. We're not perfect, but we believe in progress, in peace, in standing beside those who are willing to grow. One noble stood. And if we refuse? Darren looked at him directly. Then we'll still help those who want peace. We won't force anyone, but we won't beg either. There was silence for a moment, then, to everyone's surprise, Lady Sorella stood up. I once spat in his face, she said loudly. I called him a slave. But he showed me that strength is not about winning, it's about restraint, honor, and purpose. Gasps echoed across the dome. She continued, if this is what humans bring to our world, then I support it, the speaker nodded slowly. Then let the record show, House Zarak supports formal relations with Earth. One by one, other houses followed, not all, but many. Enough to change the future. Later that night, Darren sat on the rooftop of the human base, looking up at the stars. The city lights below glowed softly. The duel had only lasted 30 seconds, but its impact was spreading far and wide. Maya joined him with 2 cups of hot tea. Big day, she said. Darren nodded. I didn't expect any of this. You didn't plan it, Maya said. You just acted like yourself. That's why it worked, he smiled. I'm still leaving in a few days. New orders, she sighed. You'll be missed. I didn't do this alone, he said. It was all of us, even the silence, even the stares. They pushed me to prove something. Maya sipped her tea. You proved it. Meanwhile, Lady Sorella sat quietly in her family's garden. For the first time in years, she wasn't wearing armor. She let the wind move her hair and listened to the leaves rustle. Her mother approached slowly. You've changed, the matron said. Sorella nodded. I had to. He gave me no choice. Do you regret it? No, she said. Because he showed me another path. Not one of weakness, but of quiet strength. Her mother sat beside her. Then perhaps it's time we stop clinging to old scars. Sorella looked up. We can't lead the future if we're trapped in the past, the matron smiled faintly. Spoken like a true leader. Across the stars, other planets began to notice the shift on Veltrax's prime. Earth's actions, they were being studied by other systems, some fearful, others curious. One alien ambassador said in a transmission, the humans are not here to dominate, they're here to inspire. And that makes them more powerful than we expected. A new respect was rising. And with it, new hope. Days had passed since the council meeting, but the tension in the air remained thick. Many nobles were still unsure how to accept the change. To some, accepting Earth and its humans was a threat to tradition. To others, it was a chance for a better future. Darren kept to his work, helping rebuild communities and teaching young aliens about peace and cooperation. Yet one invitation stood out from the rest, a private message from Lady Sorella. It was simple. Meet me in the palace garden alone. The palace garden was quiet at dusk, filled with blooming blue flowers and soft winds. Darren walked slowly, unsure what to expect. He had seen Sorella before in battle and council halls, but never like this alone and without armor. She waited by a small fountain, her arms folded but her face open and serious. Thank you for coming, she said. Darren nodded. What did you want to talk about? Sorella took a deep breath. I want to apologize. The word hung in the air between them. For spitting in your face, she added. For calling you a slave. Darren was quiet. He had expected many things, but not this. Sorella continued. I was wrong. I judged you without knowing you. I saw only a human in armor, not a man with honor. Her eyes searched his face. That duel was not just about pride for me. It was a lesson, Darren smiled softly. Sometimes lessons come in strange forms. They walked slowly through the garden, talking quietly. Sorella told him about her childhood, how she had been raised to value strength above all else. How losing was shameful and weakness unforgivable. But you showed me, she said, that true strength is also about patience, respect and control. Darren shared stories about Earth, about people who fought wars but also built peace, about mistakes made and lessons learned. The sun set behind the mountains, casting long shadows over the flowers. Suddenly, a soft sound came from behind the bush. 2 of Sorella's sisters appeared. Their faces were hard, but they bowed quickly. We didn't mean to intrude, one said. But Lady Sorella asked us to come. Darren looked at them, then back at Sorella. I wanted you to meet them, Sorella said. They are cautious, like many others, but I want to change that. Her sisters nodded. We have watched you from afar, the elder sister said. You carry honor and humility even as an outsider. Darren felt a warmth he hadn't expected. After the sisters left, Sorella turned to Darren. There is more, she said. She pulled out a small, shining device, a communication tool used by the noble houses. I want to make this a symbol, she explained. A sign of trust between us. She held it out to him. Darren took the device carefully. We will use it to share knowledge, to speak honestly without walls, she said. Between Veltraxians and humans, Darren's eyes met hers. This could change everything. Word of the private meeting spread quietly but quickly. Across Veltraxis Prime, conversations shifted. Humans were no longer just soldiers or servants. They were partners. In the markets, vendors spoke more kindly. In schools, teachers told stories of the duel, not to shame the human, but to celebrate his honor. A new respect was growing. Back at the human outpost, Darren looked at the communication device. It was small but powerful, a link to an entire noble world. Maya joined him. This is just the beginning, she said. You changed one warrior's heart. Now it's time to change many, Darren nodded. And we will. One bright morning, Darren stood on the balcony of the Grand Hall in the capital city. Below him, crowds gathered for a special ceremony. Today, House Zarek would officially welcome Earth as a formal ally. Sorella stood beside him, wearing ceremonial robes that shimmered with the colors of her house. Her expression was proud but humble. This day is more than a celebration, she said softly. It is a promise that we will build a future together. Darren smiled. A future where respect and understanding lead the way. The ceremony began with speeches from nobles and diplomats. Many praised the bravery of those who dared to change old ways. They spoke of the duel that had shocked the planet and the courage to accept new ideas. When it was Darren's turn to speak, he stepped forward. I am honored to stand here, not as a conqueror but as a friend, he said. Humans have long been judged by strength and power, but today I hope we are judged by our actions, by our willingness to walk together. The crowd erupted in applause. Even some who had doubted him before now cheered loudest. After the ceremony, Darren and Sorella walked through the city streets together. Aliens greeted them with smiles and nods. Children ran to see them, eager to touch the blade of peace that Darren carried. The city was alive with hope. Sorella looked at Darren. You changed my world, he shook his head. You changed mine. Weeks later, Darren received a message from the Galactic Unity Council, a group that worked to keep peace across many star systems. They offered him a seat on the council. Recognizing his role in building bridges between worlds, Darren thought carefully. I want to help, he told Maya, but my place is here for now. With the people who need me most, Maya smiled. You have already done more than most. In the months that followed, Earth and Veltraxis Prime worked closely. Trade routes opened. Cultural exchanges flourished. Human technology helped heal lands scarred by war. Alien wisdom taught humans new ways to see the stars, and through it all, Darren and Sorella remained close allies. Their friendship became a symbol of unity, a reminder that peace was possible even between the most different of worlds. As Darren prepared to leave Veltraxis Prime to continue his mission elsewhere, the people gathered to say goodbye. Sorella stood at the front, holding the blade of peace. You will always have a home here, she said. Darren smiled, feeling hope and pride fill his heart. Thank you, he said, for everything. The ship lifted off, leaving the glowing planet behind. Darren looked back one last time, knowing that the story they had begun would continue, one of respect, courage, and the unbreakable spirit of humanity.